Today is the 27th or 8th? 8th. 28th of January.
No, wait. 27?
Today is the 27th of January 2010. We're sitting here in Hod HaSharon, where I, Gabril, Raam, live. And I sit with two of my students, two of my ex-students, two of my... Never mind. And I want to talk about two things, consciousness and humanity, consciousness and human warmth. I want to begin by saying that there's a great absence for both of them during human life. I think it's not obvious. I think if you come to a person just like that, tell him what are the 10 most missing things, or tell him what is the 100 most missing things in the life of people, I don't think anyone will pinpoint consciousness and human warmth. For me, I find life almost totally unbearable without them. Consciousness in the normal going on, I find people asleep to the truth of themselves, the truth of life, the truth of human relations, from the standpoint that like there's automatic pilot. In sleep there's automatic pilot of decrease of any emotional dissonance. So people are not conscious of anything that represents emotional uncomfortability. And because of that, what rules them is not to know what's going on, because this will cause them pain, but actually to feel good. So it's an anti-consciousness society and people. And people who bring consciousness are basically cursed, and they looked at as troublemakers and mashpitei simcha.
Yeah.
There's a term in English for that.
Party...
Destroyers?
Party destroyers, or this is an expression, yes?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And the whole way of going on is that we don't want to know. We don't want to know about time passing. We don't want to know about old age. We don't want to know about crazy people. We want to surround ourselves with what convinces us that life is a joyride. And so this is something that is normally missing. Human warmth is something which is so much missing that no one feels that it's missing. We took the estrangement and the coldness of human beings towards each other as normal. And I want to give you an example. Now, when you go on a bus, when you go on a train, when you go on a plane, with people who do not know each other sit together, I can only describe the atmosphere as cold hostility. I mean, no one talks, but everyone reacts like no one is around. There's a ignoring of other people, not to force you to relate to them. Of course you can say that we are embarrassed, but basically the presence of other people around us does not cause us to squeeze out of us warmth towards them. And even if you think about people walking on the corridors of the airport, then There's like no people around. Everyone is very, very cold. And when people treat you and give you service, it's according to the book, it's according to what's said, being said. And everyone seems very, very careful not to put anything warm or anything intimate or anything personal in the way they approach the other person. And it seems that people who do job when they work with people, especially people who do job when they work with people, give service or whatever, it seems to me that they try very hard to behave like machines. Like they want to eradicate everything that sounds human. Like, yes, where are you going to? How long are you going to stay there? Thank you, anything else? And it seems that the certain computation planted in us behave like a machine. We invented machines and we try to behave like them as far as other people are concerned. Now when we are with people that we feel comfortable with, because we got history together, then we don't really shower human warmth on each other, but what we do is that we evacuate out together all the things which we carry inside, and we try to have fun together. We try to amuse each other. And the amusement and the release of pressure comes instead of being warm to the people with which we do talk, with which we do have relations. Now, during human life, you don't feel it so much, because, you know, it's so much absent, you have nothing to compare it to. But when you go to a place like hospital, then everyone is trying to convince you that there is no place for humanity or human warmth in hospital. We are too busy saving life. Allow me to say what a bullshit. Because there is no contradiction. But it seems to me like all the nurses, all the medical staff is behaving in a way like there is a big brother watching, and if anyone dare to put 5 milligrams of human warmth, immediately a big voice will come, Nurse Matilda, go to the office. And everyone is trying. Now, there are people who are good-natured. There are people who like people. But it's not human warmth. Even people which are nicer, which are kinder, they are not doing it because they have human warmth. It's not because they administer the commodity of human warmth. It's because they are good-natured and they are like that with anyone. If they would have human warmth, they would administer more human warmth to a person who needs it than others. And I was in hospital a few days ago, and I thought, and there's a possibility that I would lecture in a certain conference, and I thought that one thing I would like to ask doctors is, why don't you have a system in which the nurses give you, the head of the department, a report, who is the patient that has got the least visitors in the last 3 days? And him will get a visit from one doctor a day for 10 minutes, just to be with them and to give them attention. Now, the thing is that it's so foreign to their heads, and they can't hide behind the excuse that they can't spare 10 minutes just to be with another human being. Because I know they sit in the back door and they laugh and they joke and they talk about the football game yesterday. But it seems that it's somehow prohibited. Like there is a law against it. No one says you should not show human warmth. But there's certain dictatorship, because if one of the nurses will just sit for 5 minutes instead of rushing around and changing urines and all the rest of it, and just be another person, say, how does it feel to have the cancer? How bad do you feel with it, and things like that. they would feel that they're out of place, like they're doing something wrong. And when you ask a person, I mean, I did this exercise with someone, and I said, actually, you will see it in the film of the third dialogue group. When I did the simulation, that I was with the person, and I said, okay, you are my best friend, or my best friends, I want to let you know. They sucked me out of my job, and because of my age, I couldn't get any other job, and I've got heavy debts, or my wife left me, which I love very much, or I have malignant cancer, the rest of it. And basically the response that I got is, well, you know, what I advise you to do, and that pisses me off, because when people are in a situation where all they can do, in many situations all you can do is give you warmth.
Yeah.
When it comes to the crunch, nothing you can say but give human support. But people lost the ability to do it. They feel lost, they don't know what to do. They're out of practice.
Yeah. It seems to me, from what you're saying, is that you know, the first thing that I want to ask you is, how come? You know, why something like that can happen? But when I think more deep about what you say, is that human warmth is the basic, in a way, of human. I think this is something that really makes.
So it's interesting that you say human warmth, because first of all, if you want to know where to look for human warmth, go to dogs. Dogs have got more human warmth than human,
Yes.
which is another paradox.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Animals, dogs, yes.
Dogs specifically, I don't think cats have got any human warmth.
No. Okay. So humanity, it's the basic. So for this basic to fall down,
They love humans so much, they became more human than human.
yeah.
When you love something, you imitate it. Yeah, go on.
So if something so basic has to
Absolutely, it
has to drop down from all the
Not only
filtering-
drop down, I think there is
Disappear.
secretive banning. There's prohibition from
Well-
showing human warmth. If in a hospital someone will start to do it, they will tell him, you don't have anything to do. That person 10 minutes later on can sit 10 minutes in the nurse station and talk about television program.
Oh.
It's okay.
It
Yeah.
with the nurse.
So what are you saying? What are you?
What I'm saying is that for something so basic to go to be prohibited, to disappear, that only shows that for me that all the system that's supposed to be rely on this is totally not working.
That's definite, but I would say, I will go even further than that. It comes to say that something basic in the human system, in the human soul, in the human factor is corrupt,
You would, okay.
is fucked up.
Yeah.
It's painful to hear that, because for me, I would really like to blame that it's a certain, for instance, it's a society that condition you to be in such a way.
Yeah, society conditions you in such a way, but you know, we are used to live this way. We cooperate.
Yeah.
It's like the Nazis. I mean, people who worked in offices and people family did not say, okay, we want to destroy 6 million Jews. But when it happened, they adjusted themselves to it. I think, by the way, having no humanity is being a Nazi. What I mean by that, see, we look at Nazis and we say it's a freak phenomena. We forget that Nazis are first of all human beings. And I tell you that what allowed them to be Nazis and to do what they do is the fact that there is no human warmth in the world. They were agents for it. Because something in German genes is cruel. But all of us are at fault. They simply represented what is in human life anyway. All of us are Nazis, but dormant Nazis.
So
When you don't come to a person who is in agony and you don't hug him, It's a passive Nazi. It's not a privilege, an extra to human warmth, it's a must. It's for the soul to have human warmth, it's like for the lungs to breathe.
I think I guess.
You see, it's interesting that you say it's shocking. I mean, what am I doing? I'm simply saying things which exist. I just put lamps on it. And just to let you know, when I had this difficult conversation with you, this was the impact that was breaking upon me. I was shattered. Just by being 3 days in the hospital, that's all.
Yeah.
No one beat anyone, there wasn't a big crisis, but I was in the atmosphere of no human warmth. It was driving me crazy. Because I probably did not lose this inner compass that says humanity, or shouts for humanity, and craves for humanity.
Did you feel that you started also to compensate it? Did you become extra human to other people? Or
No,
was there, no?
I became angry.
Okay.
Because you see, I'm human.
Mm.
If I would feel guilty, I will do what you're saying. I will go and be more human.
Yeah.
I'm human all the time.
Yeah.
I was angry. I wanted to punch the whole world in the face.
Yeah. The most amazing thing is that you say that there's a law against human warmth.
Yes.
And I recognize it so much, because it's, especially because I work in the social field, and I've never met bigger egos than in the social working field.
Amazing.
Yeah, I always thought there it will be more warm, but it's not. And whenever you put human warmth instead of this gossip or talk, it's like, what are you doing? There's no time for that. You get cold shower.
Suddenly there's no time.
There's no time. It's not allowed. Yeah. And there was something else that you said all in the beginning. You said, in this time people want to feel good.
Not at this time only. Always.
Always, yes. And you say consciousness is kind of spoiling the party.
Yes.
Do you want to say with that with consciousness you will not feel good?
Mostly you will not feel good because we live in a terrible world, in a terrible life, which ends in a tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, people who are young now will be old.
Yes.
And the people who are now your parents are slowly towards disappearance.
Yeah.
This by itself is very, very cruel. But we try not to be conscious of it. We live like time is still. We live like the people who are older than us will always be there. I mean, I live all the time feeling that it's already finished, which it squeezes out of me to give all the warmth in the world to the people that I will not be together with them tomorrow. They will not be together with me. I mean, when I think about my dead father, the only thing I'm sorry about is I didn't give him more human warmth. That's the only thing. Because I wasn't conscious of the fact that he is in the process of disappearance. So what you see that I'm doing at the moment, I'm actually making a marriage between consciousness and human warmth. And it seems from a lower standpoint that they are opposites.
I think there are opposites, but in sense of depth and height of humankind.
If you put human warmth lower than consciousness, then I wouldn't agree. I don't think they are on different levels.
On the same axis, I would say.
You're doing this kind of movement.
Yes.
I don't think so. I think I would put them on the same level. I think human warmth and consciousness are basically the two halves of the same whole. Human warmth is to do with the soul, and consciousness is to do with the mind. And I would say even more surprising thing. It's like what we talked yesterday, the symbiosis, this rule of integrated
Yes.
kelim, whatever. if you decrease your level of consciousness, you will decrease your humanity. And the other way around. One affects the other. The more conscious you are, the more human you become. The more human you become, the more conscious you become. Now I know from a lower standpoint, it looks very puzzling, because we look at it this way. If you are conscious, then you are cold, you see reality, and you're functional, whatever. If you want warmth, you become this big jelly of just all the rest of it. But really it's not like that. There are two opposite expressions of the same thing. It's yin and yang, one within the other. And as I told you before, it's not surprising that Nietzsche died the way he died, hugging a horse that was whipped by a horseman or by a carriage driver, crying, and then he lost his sanity, and for 11 years he was non-existent basically, and he was one of the highly consciously evolved human beings. So you can't really be conscious and not see human suffering, and not see what a terrible tragedy human life is. And if you do, you can't help but have human warmth about it. And if you have human warmth, you wish to understand.
Is it like a compassion?
See, one of the ways not to have consciousness and not to have human warmth is to separate both. And this is what this system is doing. For example, when you go to the university, if you succeed to find 1 grain of human warmth there, you will be lucky. It's a cold, empty, dead place from human feelings. So they divorce consciousness from human warmth. And then you have got this, I don't know, people who are supposed to bring human warmth, charity organizations and all this kind of thing. Usually when you think about someone which is dealing with helping other people or the rest of it, you don't look for much consciousness there. So our society is very busy, and it's like the Romans used to say, rule and separate, separate and rule.
Divide.
Yes, and there is a big division between consciousness and warmth. But if you want to find a really developed human being, one of the marks about this human being, he's got 2 things that are complementary in this person. He's got a lot of human warmth, and he's very consciously aware. And if you find only one and the other is missing, he's fucked.
Yeah.
What do you think of what I said?
First of all, I want to say that I feel that I have difficulty with
Yes?
it. Yes, because
The idea that both of them need to live together? Do you have also difficulty?
No.
the idea that it's so much missing, I think this is not so clear.
So you take it personal.
I take it personal.
What, you talk about human warmth?
Yes.
You don't agree that it's so much missing?
I agree
So what's the problem?
that it's so much missing. That I find it just a pity. That
So what you're telling me, that you're ignoring in your normal life the absence of human warmth. I make you conscious,
Yes.
and you don't forgive me, like many people don't forgive me, about making them conscious about something which causing them to be upset. I mean, you can live with the world not having human warmth as long as you're not conscious of it. See, that's why both need to be together. Because what allows you to bear what you are conscious of is the fact that immediately after that, you shower yourself and the other person with human warmth. The only thing that will allow us to survive in this horrible world is human warmth. Now, if you don't have human warmth, the only other option you have is to decrease your level of consciousness so you don't see what world you live in.
Yes, but I want to say about it that, you know, for me, I suffered from lack of human warmth. I mean, I was in depression for for a long time. So it's not that it was just as easy as it is.
But one of the ways for you to survive and not to be totally depressed totally
Was
is to decrease your level of consciousness about this aspect. I mean, but when you got upset, you didn't get upset where X or Y did not get human warmth. You got upset when you didn't get human warmth. That's when you got depressed. But I'm telling you, never mind you. It's totally absent.
Yeah.
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 There's this beautiful, I told you this poem of Yuda Amichai. There is in the Jewish prayer a sentence, God full of mercy. You know what mercy is?
Yeah, yeah.
Have mercy upon me. And
Yeah.
mercy is definitely to do with humanity.
Yeah.
And the poem starts with a word, he's saying, yeah, of course God is full of mercy. That's why there is no mercy in the world, because all the mercy went to him.
Go on, mercy.
And that's amazing.
I honestly want to say.
Yeah, I would like to say something. I would like to ask, how can the one strengthen the other? How can consciousness strengthen human warmth and human warmth consciousness? Or
When
can-
consciousness comes to the limit of itself, it is so horrible what you see. I mean, if you just think about the fact that we're going to finish in 70, 80 years, and what we're surrounded by, and what we are in relation to the universe, and what it is in relation to our hopes and fears, you know, then the consciousness has come to the limit of itself, and it is so...
Wait,
You can take it.
you can take it. When you finish the sentence later.
Hello? שלום. מאיפה? כן, שלום לאה.
So curious about this later.
כן,
You got it?
Yeah.
כן.
I will take some more water.
בסדר גמור, בסדר גמור. אז בואי איך אני שולח לך? כן, כן, מייל זה בסדר גמור לאה. כן. 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 אמרתי את זה בצורה מאוד בהירה. אני רק אחזור, LCHODUS, ואחר כך אני חושב שזה די פשוט. עכשיו רק תזכירי לי כשאני כותב את ההצעה, במה מדובר עוד פעם. כן. כן. במה אתם עוסקים? אוקיי. הבנתי. והמטרה באופן כללי, אם אני קולט אותך נכון, זה העשרה יותר מאשר להקנות להם כלים מעשיים לשפר את התפקוד שלהם בעבודה. גם וגם? הבנתי. בסדר גמור, אז הם צריכים גם לקבל איזשהו בנפיט מקצועי. בסדר גמור, אז אני אשלח לך את ההצעה. תני לי טלפון במידה ואני רוצה להיות איתך בקשר. כן? 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 ואת המחיר אני לא צריך לכתוב. תזכיר לי כמה אמרתי? אני כבר עשיתי קווץ'. בסדר גמור, אני אעשה את זה. אוקיי, לאה, אני שולח. ביי ביי.
Suggested that on the way we will try to struggle with some
Yeah. We are limited in time.
Okay.
Because we have it in more than an hour.
That's plenty of time.
We have an
I
hour.
didn't think to spend that much time more anyway. It's okay. We'll finish before that. Okay, where are we?
The question was, where do the two meet? And then you were in a sentence.
When you say when the consciousness and it's comes to its limit.
Yeah, the situation of consciousness is so difficult. If you do not have immediately human warmth, the pain and the frustration is unbearable.
Yeah.
It's one complementing each other. I will say that human warmth is like the oil in the cogwheels of something which is moving. And I think basically I wouldn't like to live in a world without human warmth. And I want to say something else. I came to the conclusion that people see human warmth in other people as a deficiency. Like,
It's what?
it's a deficiency. If something is wrong with you, I mean,
I
think
do.
about a parent looking at the child who's got a low human warmth. They would maybe say to the friends, see how much human, but they will know he will not be successful in life because human warmth is not a commodity with which you are succeeding. People do not get you advanced in your job because you got human warmth. What can you do with human warmth? Nothing. It's not a commodity.
No.
So from a certain age, people are trying to decrease human warmth in them because we are all subject to the god of success.
Yeah.
And if you're not successful, it's like you don't exist.
Yeah.
And human warmth is a hindrance and a disturbance on the way to success. So you see, the more I talk, the more the picture becomes horrible.
Yeah, shivering.
Yes, but
Yeah.
You see, it's interesting. You live in Holland.
Yeah.
It's very much a place without human warmth.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cold.
Yeah. Extremely.
But you see, it's interesting because I think that Dutch people by themselves are not so cold, but the system is very, very cold.
Yeah, the system completely crystallized on one pole.
Because in Germany, the system is cold and the people are cold. I think in Holland, the system is cold, the people are not so cold.
They're less cold.
Yes.
But still they are very, in a sense, handicapped in the development of their human warmth.
Yeah, sure, sure. And the great illusion is that if you come to Italy, you have a lot of human warmth. No, you have a lot of joy of life, but not to mix joy of life with human warmth. And
although it's more bearable to live in such a situation, I would say, no?
what?
It's more bearable to live when you're surrounded with joy of life.
Well, bearable depends what you mean by bearable.
I prefer to live in a surrounding of joy of life.
Everyone.
Yeah.
But you see, what I want to say about joy of life, when you've got joy of life, it makes so much noise, you don't hear that human warmth is missing.
Yes.
And you live in the illusion that maybe when there is joy of life, there's human warmth. It's two opposites. When people are happy, they don't want to know about other person's suffering.
Even when people are suffering, they don't want to know about other people's suffering. Or they want to identify with it.
I think if one person suffers, he can understand more suffering of other people, feel sympathy towards it. But when people are happy, definitely not. And I had a conversation with another person the other day, some argument about money. And then I spoke about difficulties that I have, about hospitals, and immediately this person said, yeah, me too, and okay, everything's okay. And, you see, the alliance between two people who suffer is great. I mean, if we look at each other and say, I suffer, other people suffer as well, he's suffering, immediately you get empathy, which is the higher level of human warmth, by the way.
Okay.
But people are too busy not to show that they have any difficulty in life. God forbid, because then others will step over you.
Yeah.
And then you don't guess. I mean, you go over people, no one looks weak, no one looks suffering. and one is bearing, one is suffering inside.
Yeah. What's the lower level of human warmth?
Not having human warmth.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what's it made of? You said the higher part of human warmth is empathy.
Mhm.
So the lower part is sort of more
Well,
emotional.
part is having this, I don't know, care.
Okay.
Okay, I understand the question.
But I would say basically human warmth is existing either on the level of itself or it evolves to the higher level, which is empathy.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to drive at basically is saying that the bad news is that, well, what I want to say first of all is that I think we live in a world where God is not present.
Mm-hmm.
And no prayers will make any message towards God.
No.
He's too far away. But I think he's got two messengers here. One is consciousness, and the other is human warmth. Now, well, yeah, the expression of the soul is human warmth, but the active presence of God is human warmth. I mean, I'm saying when I practice human warmth towards you, then you actually experience a godly presence through me. God lives through the act of human warmth from one human being to another.
Yes.
And consciousness is the same. So there's two expressions to God which travel all the universe and come here. Now in the Kabbalah, they talk about two poles, Amud Adin ועמוד החסד, או רחמים, לא זוכר. One is, I think, the pole of judgment,
Mm-hmm.
and the other pole of mercy, more or less. I don't remember the words. Also in the Temple of Solomon, they had two poles, Boaz v'Yoyachin. One is of the judgment, the other was of mercy. And you'll find it everywhere. Now, the less we have consciousness here, and the less we have human warmth, the less